Yo, hello, tis I back again to record a video and play some Balloons Tower Defense. Let's go. I only have half cash left on this, I believe. Yeah, I do not want to play that. I'm certified half cash hater. Okay, and guess what? Today I actually have a plan and a topic that I wanted to talk about. And I even have a little list of bullet points for the thing that I was going to talk about, which is social invisibility and why it might be a concept that some people are interested in. So, what is social invisibility, right? I think we're all familiar with just invisibility as a concept, right? People can't see you, and it's like a popular trope in media, superpowers or whatever, right? But unfortunately not achievable in real life just yet. So, but there is a invisibility that is achievable in real life, that being social invisibility. And what social invisibility is basically just invisibility, but instead of people not seeing you, they just don't interact with you, and you're basically not there in every way except the physical to them, right? You just don't exist to people. That's what social invisibility is where people just do not perceive you as at all. They just live their life as if you're not there, and it's just very nice because nobody notices you, right? So, here's why I believe that no. Here's why I like social invisibility is it just makes living life so much easier. You don't have to interact with people. You don't have to do anything with people, right? Nobody bothers you. Nobody walks up to you. Nobody asks you questions or gets you to do stuff for them. You just get left completely alone to do whatever you want with nobody there getting in the way of that. You just get to do your own thing without getting distracted or annoyed by other people. Now, how do you achieve social invisibility? And how do you make people not know that you are there? Not know, but just not perceive you, right? Well, the best way to get anybody to do anything is there are two ways to go about it, right? You either give them a reward for doing a thing, or you punish them for doing a thing, right? But that's to make them do something. However, people will also be more likely to do whatever if they themselves want to do it. I know this sounds obvious, but you know, I have to say this for my next point to make sense. So, what you do is you make people not want to interact with you. And you can do this by multiple ways, right? When somebody interacts with you, you can either make that interaction really unpleasant for them. You quote unquote punish them for interacting with you. Or you give them a reward for not interacting with you. Because, well, then, if it's more beneficial for them to not interact with you than to interact with you, then I think it's pretty obvious what answer people are gonna go for, right? And because you can't really reward people for not interacting with you. I mean, you could go walk around and go give people money for not talking to you. But I don't know, that seems pretty strange, and that also costs you, money. And I don't know, do you want to pay other people money for them to not interact with you? I don't think so. So, majority of the people that you meet in your day-to-day life, they do not care about you. You're already pretty much socially invisible to them. However, stuff like people like your co-workers, schoolmates, or just other people that you see semi-frequently, there's kind of a higher chance that they will interact with you just because, well, they see you more frequently, and that's just kind of what people do. They interact with, they have a higher chance of interacting with people that they see more frequently. So, how do you avoid that? Well, obviously, number one is just don't see a lot of people. If you don't see many people, then there aren't many people that you need to be socially invisible to. I think that's pretty obvious. So let's just move on to the things that actually matter, which is how do you be socially invisible to the people that you're kind of forced to see and you're forced to interact with? Well, there are a few techniques that you can employ to do such a thing. Number one is gestures privilege, is to make people just not take you seriously, to make it so that you can say anything, and people won't react to it because they'll just go, oh. They won't go, oh, gestures privilege, but you'll have gestures privilege, and then they won't react to whatever you're saying because you have gestures privilege. And to those of you who are unfamiliar with what the term gestures privilege means, it's basically how nobody takes a gesture seriously because people just assume that everything that they say is a joke, everything that they say is not serious. And it's kind of a blessing and a curse. It's a jester's curse and a jester's privilege where you can say anything you want, but nobody listens to anything you say, and nobody takes anything you say seriously. So that's just kind of the other side of that coin, is if you have jester's privilege, you do get to enjoy the absolute freedom of saying whatever you want. But, you know, nobody will listen to you. That's what jester's privilege is. How do you achieve jester's privilege? Well, it's kind of just, you have to, it only works on the people that you interact with regularly, funnily enough. So this technique can only be used on people that you do interact with regularly. And that's because it's kind of a slow conditioning where you just never act serious. You always make jokes and you always just say ridiculous stuff. And just as you say it more and more over time, people start to take you less and less seriously. Because if every time they ask you a serious question or try to get your opinion on a topic and you just give a joke answer, well, obviously people are going to start expecting that from you. And they will start. Also, these two monkeys cost the exact same. That's crazy. And they will start just not relying on you for anything serious. They will no longer care about what you have to say about topics because they know that everything that you do have to say is a joke. And this becomes really nice because then people just stop talking to you about serious topics or about anything that is not a joke, which means that you just interact with people a lot less. Now, technique number two, making people not want to interact with you. This is kind of the punishing people for talking with you side of this, right? Is if somebody interacts with you and talks with you, you want to be as annoying and toxic and just not a pleasant person to interact with as possible. However, there's a very fine balance to this where you don't want to be so annoying and toxic that they start to have negative feelings towards you that linger outside of the social interaction. You want to be just annoying and toxic enough that they stop talking to you and they leave. But you don't want to be so annoying and toxic that they then remember you after the interaction and they go, oh yeah, I don't like this person because they were mean to me, right? You don't want that to happen because then the person actually starts to remember you more than if you were nice to them, since people tend to remember negative things that happen to them way more than they do positive things. And a good line to like there's not a good way to teach this because you kind of just have to practice it on people and you have to just feel it out. Yes, you will make mistakes sometimes and you will get people that just do not like you, but as you practice this more and more, you will get better at it and you will start to be able to reach that point where you will be able to upset people just enough to where they never talk to you, but they will not remember you for anything negative, right? They'll just go, oh, it's that guy. I don't want to talk to that guy again because talking to that guy last time was not fun. And this can be done in a number of different ways, right? Obviously, you can be annoying and toxic to them. You can make the social interaction as unpleasant as possible for them. But, that does run the risk of what I talked about earlier. You can also be as boring as you can to that person, usually single line, single word answers, blank face expression, monotone voice, all that kind of stuff. It discourages the other person from talking with you. It discourages them from trying to interact with you because they get nothing out of it. They get bored and they don't learn anything new. They don't get any new information. They just get blank autopilot responses that they don't care about and that they can see you don't care about. Especially if you also just do what the blank expression and the blank voice do, is it convinces the other person that you just do not care about what they have to say at all, and that you do not want to interact with them either. Because a really big part of it as well, right, is that if a person can see that you don't want to interact with them, and they can sense it, a lot of the times that they will, so long as it's not hostile, they will also not want to interact with you back. Because now they have to start putting in more effort for the social interaction, right? And if there's one thing that people hate, it's putting in effort into social interactions because, well, it's difficult, it's risky, it's annoying. And so if they see that it's just not worth it with you, they just won't do it. There is, yeah, right. Going back to being annoying and mean to people, you also don't want to upset people. You never ever want to upset people when doing this. So you can make fun of them, but never do it in a way that actually hurts them deeply. So long as you can make fun of them within the conversation and for things that are inside of the conversation, but never do anything beyond that, right? So if they say a word wrong in the conversation while speaking to you, you can then be really annoying to them about how they can't speak and you make fun of them for not speaking. But if they talk to you again, don't make fun of them for that past thing. Only make fun of them and be annoying about things that happened in the conversation. Because if you remember things that happened from previous conversations, that not only shows to them that you care about interacting with them and you care about what happened previously, but also the fact that you remember things from previous conversations to be for malice, right? Because you want to be mean about them. And that starts to border on being too mean to the point of where the person will also start to remember you more, right? And you do not want that. You absolutely do not want people to remember you. So yeah, that's kind of a good rule of thumb to go by, is that you want to be only annoying within the conversation. And so as soon as the conversation ends, you just forget everything that happened in there. And if they speak to you again, you just obviously you can go, oh, wait, what's your name again? And then they say their name, and you go, oh yes, I remember we interacted at some point last week, right? But you don't remember anything from the conversation, or if you do, it's just very, very basic stuff. And yeah, just make sure to not cross the line when being annoying and mean, because otherwise they will start to remember you for those negative things. Right. Topic number 3, I guess technique number 3 is not calling attention to yourself. You never want to speak up. You never want to be seen by other people. This sounds very basic, but I think that this isn't super obvious, is that when you are calling attention to yourself intentionally, be it by going up to your coworkers, going up to your school friends, not school friends, my bad, just school people, because why would you want to be socially invisible to your school friends or just friends in general, assuming that you have them, of course. Uh, you never want to call attention to yourself intentionally. So just being too quiet can also cause attention to yourself, can also call attention to yourself, but only if you are quiet in a very obvious way, right? If you're quiet in a way where you don't have to say much, and people just don't really see you or hear you. Also, do you see this like visual bug over here where the thing was glitching in between balloons? Yeah, it's kind of happening now as well. That's damn. But yeah, where people just don't see you and they don't think about you because there's nothing to see about you and there's nothing to think about you, because you don't give them that information. You don't give them any food for thought, right? You want to be in the other person's mind, just like a blank rock, where they pick, you pick up a rock and you go look at it, and it's just a gray boring rock, just average rock size. Because this is another thing, right? You don't actually want to be a standout person. Again, very obvious thing, but you know how you can be a standout person in the direction of, super out there, super duper like friendly and positive and approachable and speakable too, right? Obviously you don't want that. But there's also the opposite direction of being completely antisocial and being completely hostile to any social interaction and just anything in general. You also don't want to be that, because that people remember that. People remember that because it's not ordinary. It's unusual for people to act like that. If you're just the most average, basic person who never has much to say, who is a bit annoying to talk to, a bit just unpleasant to interact with, but never anything worth remembering or noticing, that is what gets you social invisibility. That is what makes you forgettable and uninteresting. I forgot my original thought. This is so sad. Makes you forgettable and uninteresting. Okay, I guess I'll just, I don't know, what was this? Yeah, not calling attention to yourself. Hello? Yes, nice. This is so annoying. My headphones ran out of power again. GG. And you don't want to call attention to yourself. So don't talk to people outside of when they speak to you. Don't put your hand up in class, I guess. Don't go help out your coworkers. Don't say hello, goodbye when you're walking past people. A good thing to do though is opening doors, because if you're walking in front of somebody and you don't open the door, they will remember you more than if you did. Well, I guess, like, if you're just opening the door, yeah, no, I realized how strange this is and how just nobody would do this. If you're walking in front of somebody and you just intentionally close the door behind you after you walk past, people will remember that. But if you just kind of like push it out behind you as you walk far enough to where the other person can get it and they have to put less effort into opening it, that's a good thing, because then it's less work for them and they're less likely to remember anything about you because you have made their life easier, but to where you make ignoring you easier, right? Because if you just close the door and then they have to reopen it again, they'll go, oh, that guy, yeah, he didn't hold the door for me. And if you do hold the door for them, they'll still remember you as, oh, that guy who held the door open for me. Just kind of pushing it out far enough to where they can grab it easier, but it's not completely holding it open for them. That's kind of the perfect middle ground for where you are the most just not worth remembering person. Then topic number 4, physically being out of people's lives. So it's just, very obvious if people don't see you, if people don't interact with you. I kind of went over this at the very start, I think. If people don't see you, if people don't interact with you, how and why would they remember you? You know? So this is just very, this is the part that's going to start sounding antisocial, I guess, is just don't talk with people. It's as simple as that. Don't, like, go and meet your people that you frequently see outside of the bare minimum where you need to see them. Don't don't speak to people unless they speak to you. Don't approach people. Always be approached. Always be approached. Um, okay, no, I think we're good. So yeah, basically if people never see you and they never get the chance to talk with you, how and why would they remember you in the first place? Very, very obvious stuff here. So just literally just physically, oh, actually, less obvious point here. So yeah, just physically distance yourself from people as much as possible, but not to the point where it becomes obvious you're trying to physically distance yourself from them. So just sit at the back corner of the class. That's fine. A lot of my examples are going to be from school because I still go to school, obviously. Again, not obviously, but obviously for me, I still go to school. So obviously a lot of my examples are from school. So, yeah, physical distancing, all that, blah, blah, blah. And then emotional distancing, where you just don't be interested in other people's lives, don't care about what they have going on, because they won't care about what you have going on in return. And that means that if there's nothing to talk about with you, because they know that you won't talk about anything with them. They just will not talk and interact with you. It really is that simple. Emotionally distance yourself from other people to make them not want to speak with you, because there's nothing to be gained from speaking with you, only lost, where you are slightly too annoying, too unpleasant, too uncaring, too cold, too distant, too out of the way to speak to. But you're none, but you're not enough of any of those things for it to be memorable. Yeah, I think that no, I'm really happy with this, with how this one turned out, because having this thing is so helpful to keep my thoughts on track and, concise and not ramble. But I think that's it for this. Yes, right. Thank you.